Well, good evening. It's the 9th of September 2023 and I haven't got a photo of the Brisbane Metro taken by myself because it doesn't exist. But there's an interesting little item. Brisbane Metro. What is it? In other words, and do we need it? Well, the answer is, well, it's just an overhyped double articulated bus. It is electric and it's going to run frequently, and it will be some improvement for some people, in other words. But the questions are there, of course. One of them is, why didn't they rebuild the bus stations to a much larger and longer standard? Because then they could have had what is known as guided bus or trackless tram. And they could have had 5 vehicles instead of 3. In other words, if it's just a double articulated, they could have had guided bus would be five vehicles, okay, to be more like a train in a sense, and that's probably what they do need. And in longer term, I believe they will need that. And people could argue straight away and say, well, why isn't it a rail metro? Well, that is a many billions of dollars project. Well, this is about a $1 billion project, I think. But, or a little more, someone could fill me in on that. The thing is, where the mistakes have been made is cutting out some of the existing bus services to connect at bus stations along the way, rather than a one-seat ride for a start. And then people are going to be, the whole project's going to be wrong because it's going to be overcrowded. During the peaks, there's going to be standing room only at all times. In other words, peak hours. It just won't have the capacity. It's not forward-thinking enough, and I've had other people say, oh, the existing bus stations, they can barely fit the metro in now. It's only, as I said, double articulated. And I would reckon it's the most hyped up, over-exaggerated thing that they've ever done. Can it be saved? And I say, at the moment, probably it can't. But can it be improved? And I'd say yes, in a sense that if it's extended down to Springwood and it extended out to Forest Lake and then to Chermside, they'd be good and worthwhile extensions. And I've stated this in the past, but I believe they should be able to have a limited stop service all the way from Brisbane to Ipswich. Well, it'd be backing up the railway that they have now, but it'd be very limited stop. It'd go from Ipswich Brisbane Roma Street, go through Central, the Valley, and stop at the PA Hospital and Maruka, and then run express to Dinmore and just do one stop per suburb, like Dinmore, Ebby Vale and Bundambra, and of course Burvale and East Ipswich and Ipswich. Probably the running time might be reasonable too, just a little over an hour, I would think. But they would be improvements, but later on there may need to be a project where there is an actual guided bus system with much larger vehicles. I think that is right now, if anything, my number one criticism of the system. Trackless trams exist in other places, and I know that some people criticise them too, but they can run on 750 volts overhead and have one rail set into the street, and that street that is for negative return, as they call it, and railways do this, and trolley buses do that, have a second wire to negative return to the power station. A battery operated vehicle will not run over longer distances. It's perfectly okay for the current scheme, but it will not work to go on much longer routes. So there are many drawbacks to this scheme, and I think in the next 2 or 3 years a lot of people will be raising concerns and will probably be complaining about all those aspects that I've just mentioned. So of course I'll be riding it on the first day and making a movie of it, but don't get overexcited, will you, because it's just, as I said, going to be a double articulated bus which exists in other countries in the world. And indeed there's even larger buses. I've even seen, way back in 1980, a double-deck, double-articulated bus, which leaves everything that we're going to do for dead, doesn't it? So anyway, I just thought I'd mention these things, and I'd welcome civil and polite comments and discussion on the issue. So thank you for viewing.